The Paranorm Girl podcast presents Spectral Shorts, Volume 1. As the hot summer day comes to a close and darkness arrives, its air thick with mystery, I invite you to step into the shadows with me. All of the stories you will hear over the course of this summer mini-series are first-hand accounts of encounters with the paranormal and the inexplicable. These were recorded at my vendor booth at the Tombstone Wild West Paracon. I would like to thank each and every person who took the time to share their accounts with us. Their tales range from ghostly encounters, deathbed visions, poltergeist activity, mimics, and so much more. If you enjoy this format of tales told by the experiencer directly, or the shorter form content, please let me know by messaging the show at ParanormGirlPod on social or by emailing me at paranormgirlpod@gmail.com, and I shall find a way to incorporate your feedback into the new season. Let us settle in now for our first tale, brought to us by Aaron from San Diego.
My name is Aaron Lee Pink. I'm from San Diego, California, and my story was probably the best one is when I was a kid. It was my grandfather's funeral. We all went up to Stockton, California. As it is, my grandmother's house is haunted with two children that drowned in a pool in the backyard. And it was the night of the wake, and we all took turns sleeping in my grandmother's room, or grandparents' room. I was laying in bed, and above the bed is a picture of Jesus kneeling at the cross, or kneeling down with the light shining down on him. And it was a good, I'd say 4 feet above the bed. Had my eyes closed, but was not asleep, and felt like I was being lifted up. And there was a bunch of flashes going on in the room, but there was no lightning storm that night. When I looked at the painting, it was eye level. And I couldn't talk, I couldn't breathe. It was like I had, sleep paralysis. And when I finally was able to get out a scream for my mother, I fell smack down on the bed. And since this day, I've never stepped foot past the threshold in that room. Now I kind of want to go back. My cousin owns the house, and I kind of want to go back and, face that fear, but haven't had it yet.
And that was the only time that something quite like that happened? Like, do you ever remember having even sleep paralysis before or after?
No, not before. And after, I would think I'd have sleep paralysis in the last house that we lived in before we moved into the house we're in now. But that house was also very haunted, and I would be dragged out of bed. It was pretty epic. Dragged out of bed, constantly seeing things move. I was out in the backyard barbecuing while my son and my son's friend would watch, where they were playing games at the time on Xbox. And I heard this big crash. And when I came running in, they said that something came out of the wall and knocked all the speakers off of the entertainment center, because we had the speakers on very high of the entertainment center, onto the floor and went out the chimney. That same house is where my son called me from work saying that there was something in the house, and an old man was in the garage trying with a knife, but he couldn't find him. And when I went to the house, there was no sign of it.
Do you ever think maybe it's you?
Yes, I do. My wife says I'm haunted, but it comes with the territory. I am a medium, okay. So it does. I do it. I'm that beacon that they come. In fact, last night in the hotel room, thought I was talking to my wife, having a idle chit chat with whoever it was, some female.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you do that professionally, medium?
Yes, I do.
Do you want to tell my audience where they could find?
Yeah, sure. We're at it's me and my business partner, and we're at Starcraft's Cave at Facebook.com. And I am working on building a website to make it better. But yeah, it's Starcraft's Cave at Facebook.
From the sounds of it, I don't think your wife is far off the mark, Aaron. Some people never experience the paranormal, and then there are those who seem to draw it near, even from childhood. Not surprising at all, considering you are a sensitive. Our next and final story comes to us courtesy of Maggie from Apache Junction, Arizona.
My name's Maggie, and I'm from Apache Junction, Arizona. So, probably about 30 years ago, lived in South Carolina, and I had an older sister and her husband, new husband, she was newly pregnant, had rented a home in South Carolina, and nothing ostentatious, nothing fancy. It was just a modest one-story little home. Looked like every normal little brick home you could ever see. And I helped her move in. You know, the night we helped move in, it was August. South Carolina's pretty hot. So we moved all their stuff in, and it was late. They didn't want to drive me back home. I was young. They didn't want to drive me back home to my parents, so I stayed the night. So they made a little bed for me, and I camped out in the living room. I couldn't sleep in the night, and I got up a couple of times, didn't want to wake them up, but I was looking everywhere for blankets. It didn't even occur to me why I was freezing, but I was. It was probably, 85 degrees outside, high humidity, South Carolina. I'm shivering to the bone. I am so cold. So I'm looking around for blankets, can't find any, cover up as best I can, and still can't sleep. So I'm lying there, and there's a picture window that sort of faces, kind of goes out to an enclosed porch. And they had these curtains on them. So I kept thinking all night, is that my imagination or are those curtains moving? There's no air movement. They didn't have AC. It was not that kind of house, so there wasn't anything that was moving the curtains. But it looked like there was somebody walking in behind the curtains, like a body walking in behind. So that kind of freaked me out. But again, I dismiss it because it's a brand new house. It's my sister's house. I'm not thinking anything paranormal at all. So that's day one of my sister's home, and in the course of that we would go over and visit her, hang out with her. She at the time wasn't working. She was on maternity, pre-maternity leave, I guess, and all sorts of things began to happen, and rapidly. Probably within the first 4 months is when all this occurred. She had a small Chihuahua dog. This little dog was a yapper, and the dog was super friendly. It wasn't like most Chihuahuas. It wouldn't bite you and such.
Ankle biters.
No, it wasn't much of an ankle biter. It was pretty friendly and kind. But, man, this dog would, in the hallway, it would come around the corner in the hallway, and all the hackles would go straight up. It looked like a fin, and just growling to beat the band. And we're like, what is wrong with this dog? Again, this is early on, so we're not really putting anything together with it. So that would happen pretty much all the time. Then the pipe smell started to happen. We would smell pipe smoke, almost like cherry tobacco kind of scent in the home. So we go over to visit, and we walk through, and occasionally you would just smell this pipe smoke. So all these things were sort of cumulative. My sister and her husband, when they were alone, they would sleep at night, and she woke up one night and said, "Why are you calling my name? Stop it. I'm trying to sleep." And she had to wake him up. He was dead asleep. And he said, "I'm not calling your name. I'm not talking to you." She goes, "It was. I heard your voice. It was your voice calling my name." Went back to sleep. Maybe a day or two later, same thing happened to him. So she's asleep, and he hears her voice calling his name. Just weird stuff. Things would move. So there was movement going on. You would lean a broom, use a broom or a mop or something like that, lean it against the wall at a good angle. You turn your back and the thing would fly out, defying gravity, and hit the floor and freak you out. You're like, but all the time until you put it all together, it didn't really feel paranormal. We just thought, this is a weird house. There's lots of stuff. The clincher was, and things would also move, like if you hung stuff on a doorknob. Like my sister was a big fan of long necklaces, and she would hang all her long necklaces in the bedroom, and they would start swaying and, hitting you would hear the sound of the necklaces hitting the door. The clincher was, the climax of it, we're sitting in her kitchen, and she had this very old style, like 1950s brick house, and it had these kitchen dispensers that were old-timey. You would have wax paper and foil, aluminum foil. You had these dispensers on the wall. You could just reach in and pull them out. And so she actually had them loaded with like saran wrap, aluminum foil and wax paper. And as we're sitting there talking, a Tupperware thing, she had open cabinets, by the way, so they didn't have doors on them. Tupperware piece we watched it slide out and fall straight to the floor. And we are so stunned, we're just staring at each other in the kitchen table like, what the heck was that? And before we could react and jump and run out of there, all 3 of those dispensers, everything came flying laterally across. We screamed bloody murder, fly out of the house, like, that's it. She never stepped foot back in the house. We had to get her husband's friends to go pack up their stuff and move them out because she was pregnant. We were terrified, like, oh my God, And then we start to put it all together. And she finally confessed all these other things that had happened. Rocking chairs that she would hear on that porch where I saw the person behind they would hear the rocking chairs, they would smell the pipe tobacco all the time, and it just sort of started escalating as if you're not listening, get out. And they did.
You might have said this. How long did this take place? Like, how long did this go for before there was a final, like, we got to get out of here? Like,
it couldn't have been 3 months. I mean, it was a short amount of time before it just became apparent, hey man, this place is haunted as heck. She tried to look up like tax records to see who had lived there. Apparently there was a couple, and no one lived there very long. So it had been on a rental for some time, and it was churn renters. Obviously, nobody wanted to hang out in there for a very long time. But apparently a man and woman were there, and one or the other, I can't recall, passed away. And then the other one passed away within like a week as well. So it's almost like they didn't want to be apart. I don't know if they didn't want to be apart, and they didn't want to be parted from their house either. And they're like, who are these people in our house? And that stinking chihuahua out of here, all of you, and your sisters too.
what do you think about hauntings as far as, like, do you think a place can be haunted, a location can be haunted, or does it have to be entities or energies inside of it?
I kind of believe in both. Yeah, I think, I'm touching this rock that's sitting here on your table, and I think that things can have imprinted energies. And so, like antique stores, sometimes you walk in and you kind of feel a little funkiness. So I think that things can get an attachment, but I also very much believe in free-floating entities that will follow you and attach to you. That's a different story for a different day.
Maggie, if you are listening, I'd sure like to hear that story if you would ever like to share it. Thank you for sharing the activity you experienced in your sister's home. I'm glad everybody made it out before it got worse, and with how it progressed in your story, sounds like it was going to. That will conclude Volume 1 of our summer mini-series, Spectral Shorts. Keep your ears peeled for the next installment in 2 weeks. Just something to tide you over until the Season 7 premiere on September 3rd. If you enjoyed this deviation from our regular Paranorm Girl fare, leave the show a rating and review. It sincerely helps new people find the show when they search for the next paranormal guilty pleasure to add to their regular listening regimen. Though the main show is on hiatus for the summer, I am still active on social and regularly broadcasting on my other show, Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen, which I think you may enjoy as well. This live call-in program streams the first Saturday of every month, bringing a wildly different topic of discussion to the table every time. We have welcomed callers and story submissions for topics like afterlife communications, haunted Furbies, workplace ghosts, and favorite conspiracy theories. Next month, we will be diving into urban legends, which go hand in hand with long-lasting haunted and true crime lore. Please consider calling into the show and sharing your favorite legends. Dial 208-717-1611 during the stream, or visit ghost.beer for more information. I will be meeting in person with my co-hosts of Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen for a live-streamed paranormal investigation at the Night House in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. This event will take place September 28th, and we are currently raising funds for things like travel and location fees. All are welcome to watch some of this live. However, there will be so much more bonus content and evidence reveals available only to donors of our GoFundMe. Some of our tiers also offer RPG access to those donors who tune in. The ability to send anyone of your choosing with a piece of equipment of your choosing to any room or part of the property that you desire. It is an exclusive way to experience our investigation and sure to be thrilling and very entertaining for anyone who wishes to participate. Learn more about what is being offered on other tiers and how you can become involved in this very exciting Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen event at our GoFundMe link below. I have one final announcement here at the end that I hope you will hang around for, as I am hoping this may be of interest to someone already in my audience and familiar with the show. Late last year, I welcomed a social media assistant onto my team. Unfortunately for the show, but very fortunate for her, she suddenly became a very successful coffee shop owner, and in so doing, lost most available time to commit to helping little old me on social. Congratulations to Emily. I cannot wait to see the heights to which you take M's place. With that said, I would still very much like to begin building the PGP team, and this summer I will try my luck by putting out the call for talent right here on the main channel. The opening is for a social media assistant or intern. I am happy to discuss that with interested parties if you are in need of such a position for college. I am not currently looking for an official promoter, simply someone who likes social media, loves the paranormal, and is, of course, a fan of the program. This position's start date would coincide with the premiere of the new season. I ask that all interested parties message the show at paranormgirlpod@gmail.com with a short introduction and your favorite paranormal or supernatural topic. I look forward to your entries. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, stay safe, keep the nightlight on, and sleep with one eye open.